Sure, I would do honestly.
Might make life much easier for you. A gentleman send me a message. Mr. Brown sent me a WhatsApp message, and he said on the message, I can show you the message because I have it with me. It's a WhatsApp that came to me. I didn't ask for it. Maybe let me read it to you. Perhaps it might make life much easier for you. His name is Brown Mkhwanazi, and I'm going to take it right there. The first message came on the 30th of September 2024, and it was sent at in the afternoon at 16:14 in the afternoon, and it reads as follows: My General, Brown Mkhwanazi from Northwest. That's a first intro. I don't know the person. I don't have his number on my phone. Nothing. An internal attempt to discredit you through defeating the end case. Yeah, that's what he said. It's the second message that came 3 minutes later, 16:17. An internal attempt to discredit you through a defeating the end case. It ended there. I did not respond until the following day when I saw the message on the 1st of October. I responded. My response was that, morning, sir, what are you talking about? What defeating case are you referring to? And who is behind that? That's a question I asked him. And that was about 7:44 in the morning, the following day, which was on the 1st of October. On the same morning, in the same minute, he responded by writing a word thanks, I assume, but without his TH and X. Thanks. And from there, same time, he sends me a KZN factual report. A factual report which is a report that, assuming, was drafted by the commander that was on the crime scene on the eve of that attempt arrest of that prison official. And this was directed to the provincial commissioner, which I never received. This factual report was directed to the provincial commissioner, and this very same factual report is not signed at the bottom. Although it's got the name of the member that was in charge, but so it is a report directed to me. It should have been signed, and it's dated on the 9th of January 2024. That was a day after the incident. So which means the member who was in charge was communicating to me that as per the engagement the previous night, this is what he has done. So this was a factual report.
That was never sent to you?
Which I never received. Maybe it might have been processed somehow, but I never received it. And this COP one is not signed. So he sends me this. The first question is, but where will a civilian person guess this thing? I have never heard of a name, Brown Mkhwanazi, before in the police. So he sends me that factual report. And immediately, same time, he sends me the copy of OP entry. So someone took a photo of that OP entry, which is accompanying this report, which basically contains the same thing as 2 pages of the OP entry, containing the same thing that is on the OB. Then after that, 7:51, the next message is, please handle confidentially. A meeting with the complainant will revert. That's his message. Next message, which he sends at 8:37, am in Lusikisiki today. Well, that's a WhatsApp message, which means I am in Lusikisiki today. And the next messages come after that. General Khumalo, DivCom, just checked your standing with him. Now introduce something else. He's still busy with the prison. Now introduce General Khumalo. General Khumalo, DivCom, just check your standing with him. Yesterday, he pushed a negative narrative about you on the CITs in KZN. Again, the same complainant spoke with him. And then from there, he attaches a screenshot of a presentation, assuming was a confidential meeting, this one, which a crime intelligence was presenting their policies. He has a copy of that first slide. Could it be that he was in that meeting, or someone who was in that meeting took that picture and sent it to him? Well, I didn't know. So this was to him to prove that I must trust him because he's making a reference to crime intelligence. Now, my response to him was that I hope you understand. No, sorry. He writes another message again. He says, I hope you understand, will revert. Confidentially is key here. That's still him. And then I gave him a lengthy response, which was sent to him on the same date at 9:25. Maybe let me read that response again I sent to him. I know that matter very well, which was an alleged operation that was conducted at the premises of a high-ranking TCS officer without a search warrant. That was a state house, which is within TCS premises. Who doesn't know that at prison there are too many illegal activities taking place? The alleged illicit goods were found in the dustbin which was outside the house. Those members felt that only the TCS senior must be held responsible. Hence, they wanted to charge her. It is a known secret that there are many illegal activities that are taking place within TCS. So to simply blame the house tenant for items that are found inside the dustbin was malicious, and it would have not been successfully prosecuted, and a civil claim would have been registered against the SAPS. The minister will learn the truth one day about the items which have been about that team which have been complaining that I have made them conduct crime fighting operations which are outside their mandate, although when they want to, they do such duties. For example, this one, which was carried out without following legal process, and let alone informing either myself nor the district commissioner. That was my response first. And then the second response about the DivCom, I asked him, what did he say about me when I was talking about Jaro Kumar? And then he responded on my first message. He says, the minister is briefed. He has just arrived in Lusikisiki. General, this must be in your chest. The next message. And well, I responded to him. I said, trust me on this one. And they responded again, you are having your interest, and that maybe you are having your own cartel. You don't listen to CI. Then Masimula intercepted him, meaning Masimula was in a meeting when Kumalo was uttering these words, and Masimula intercepted him. And also spoke about your provincial CI. Remember, he is retiring next month. And I responded, I said, please get me that presentation if there is one to confirm, or otherwise if there is any recording. That's me asking him. And his response was that nothing. General Khan will brief you next week. So introduce now General Khan. General Khan will brief you next week. And I said, sure. And then he sent me another message back in Johannesburg. He tried to call me on the 2nd. There's a missed call. And then on the 4th, this is October, sent me another message. Good day, General. Met with the complainant. And he tried to call me. I didn't answer. On the 16th, he called me. He sent me a message again. He said, good day, General. And he sent another one. He deleted it. On the 30th of October, he called again for 42 seconds, and I didn't answer his call. So I never spoken to him again. He has never sent me any message again. So it was then where I wanted to verify whether this so-called Brown Mkhwanazi, who then alleges that he was a Lusikisiki and the minister is aware of these allegations that he's talking about, because I did ask him specifically about this, what he's saying. Where he mentioned the minister. Oh yeah, that was at 9:28. The minister is briefed. He has just arrived in Lusikisiki. Now I knew on that day there was that massacre, and the minister was visiting there at Lusikisiki. That's when I called the chief of staff to try and establish the identity of this person. I said, chief of staff, do you know this person? That's when the chief of staff confirmed to me that yes, he knows him, that he's close to the minister. So when I went to Parliament, I pulled it from there. I told parliamentarian, I said, The person who introduced anything about the prison was a person who's outside this police. And his name is so-and-so, and this is what he claims to be close to the minister. When I phoned the chief of staff to verify his identity, the chief of staff confirmed that, yes, indeed, the guy is close to the minister, but he's not working for the ministry. He's maybe a politician or somewhere from Northwest. So, but how will a person who's outside the department have in his possession information from the police, a report as well as a copy of the OP? How does he get hold of it? And then he make reference to him in Ligisigisi with the minister, and the minister has been briefed, and he make a reference of Gerald Khan, who is going to brief me about more information. So it was just strange, but I never wanted to get involved with it. I concluded that perhaps this whole thing is coming up as a result of my acceptance of an appointment to be a presiding officer of a matter against Gerald Khan. And I believe at the time, because the lawyers were sending me emails and the likes, I started believing that, so someone perhaps wants me to back off from the case, and I will not back off from the case, because I accepted that I'm going to preside over that. There must be fairness on both sides. What is the interest of the employer and what is the interest of the employee? That's why I went for that hearing. And the matter set, and I felt that I dealt with it fairly. And I cleared Gerald Khan on all those charges that they were leveling against him. And instead, which was strange, that the charges that leveled against Gerald Khan, never mind the media issues that came up, but prior to that, but the charges that were leveled against him were coming from the recommendation from the IPID. It is the IPID that initiated it, that he must be charged, together with the others from TPCI. But those at TPCI, investigation was done and they were not subjected to disciplinary hearing. But Khan was. And I sat there and I listened to the matter. And I cleared him. So when I cleared him, suddenly, after that, IPID started their investigation. That's what became strange as to, but okay, IPID, you are now starting with the investigation. Could it be that my finding against Khan did not favor you? Or what is the reason? It was strange. And then they throw the minister's name on it. And again, I wrote to the minister, Minister, they're throwing your name on this thing. Is there any evidence that did you communicate with them? The minister sent me an email. He said, no, he never did that. You must ask IPID. So I had no reason not to believe what the minister is saying, because he said he never did that. They just wrote his name there, but they did not produce anything as an evidence of saying that the minister did refer this thing to them. So it remained an IPID thing. So where the IPID is going with it, there was a media statement of saying, no, it didn't come from the minister, it was a whistleblower or an anonymous complaint. And I'm thinking, how do you have an anonymous complaint on a matter that is in a public place for 2 months? Even went to the portfolio committee. We ventilated on this in the portfolio committee. Suddenly you are investigating a tip-off about that. The very same thing. The same thing that Mr. Mkhwanazi has it on his phone. In September last year, a new IPID are getting it now anonymously. So for me, I just felt, you know what, let them investigate whatever they're investigating. So you hear what I'm talking about. I never mentioned Gerald Sibia, not once. The whole thing about the correctional service, it started there, introduced to me by a person who claimed to be close to the minister. The only person he mentions in the report is Gerald Khan. And I go for the hearing, and the outcome of the hearing favors very same Gerald Khan. And next thing, the IPID, who the one that made the recommendation about charging Khan, they are now suddenly investigating this one. So for me, my suspicion on all these things about correctional service is that somebody within IPID wanted Khan gone. By all means, they wanted to get rid of him from the organization. And not only him, and the others that were recommended. But they were not successful, because we did not just go in a disciplinary hearing with our eyes blind. We tested evidence, and as a police officer, it pained me to see that the person who saved the organization's image, Gerald Khan, in 2021, is the one now who's been subjected to to a case like that, and it was just not fair. I cleared him because evidence was presented there. We couldn't justify that Khan had done anything wrong. Instead, he is the one who should be giving a medal for what he did, because he saved the organization's image on the day. But it will appear that within IPID, whoever people that made the recommendation for him to be charged, they're upset about the decision. I feel the whole investigation didn't come from there. I don't think it initiated by anyone. If you are saying Jarosibia had something to do, whoever is spreading the rumor, I don't believe that Jarosibia had anything to do with it. Not at all. I feel it comes from that institution who wanted Khan gone, because they couldn't get him out. Now they're turning their focus on me. Well, I'll take it. They can try whatever they will come up with. So if they will do this investigation, they can launch any other investigation that they want to. They've got a constitutional right to do that. I can't stop them. But the truth will always come out. So I'm not puzzled. I'm not afraid of anything. If they decide that they are going to launch an investigation, and they're welcome to do that for any other person. Of late, I heard that is also my name is mentioned on a kidnapping of that person from Watu who was kidnapped and who was suspected to be arrested. They say no, I was part of that whole investigation that I'm told it ran all the way. I know the team went following up this, and it was DPCI team, not even under the provincial commissioner. But they went to Gauteng, went to Mpumalanga province, and eventually it looks like this other policeman who was alleged to be suspect was caught in Mozambique and brought back into South Africa. Really, the whole issue about the case was handled by DPCI, until those people were released. Was DPCI meant. You know, DPCI don't necessarily report to the provincial commissioner. They work independently. So at what stage then do I become part of that? So obviously, if someone feels that they need to target me for whatever reason, I can't stop them. They can do that. But if we're to say all these are happening because of Jarosibia, I'll say then no, that's not true. It cannot be. Cannot be. But if maybe there is a worry about, as you are saying, a worry about the other case that is in Johannesburg, that the team from the province political task team is assisting detective in Gauteng with that investigation, if the general feels that perhaps that investigation is directed at him, I wouldn't know. I don't necessarily know the details about every investigation that happens. Some of them I get brief, some of them I don't get brief. I don't follow investigation every single day, but I know that there's some terrible things that happen in Gauteng about other murder cases in Gauteng that seems to have been squashed somehow, that this team is picking up. That seems to be an issue, which is for me the interesting one that is coming up. So obviously there will be many people involved. That's why I said senior officers are involved. And I know for a fact that the senior officer starts from a brigadier, so there is a brigadier involved.
General, with that said, and you being privy not necessarily to who's implicated, but of the investigation the political task team are doing, are you not painting a target on your back with making the statements about those certain investigations of people at national? Do you feel that it's your obligation, your duty as a high-ranking SAPS officer to look into those matters, or to have those matters dealt with?
Look, let me explain again. Where does it come from that Mkhwanazi starts speaking about people who are uncomfortable about the work that is done by the team from KZN? It is simple because there's someone who influenced the minister to write a letter to the National Commissioner to disband a task team that is deployed in KZN. Someone, who the person is, I wouldn't know. But there is someone who felt that if this team is part of this investigation, they most likely are going to see the end of this investigation. The best is to disband this team. So when you disband this team, those investigations they're busy with are going to fall away. It's against that context that I was making a reference to this. That there's someone somewhere who went and whispered to the minister. Because to me, it doesn't make sense that you're going to be told disband this. And this which you are told to disband operates here. And the Constitution of the Republic, under Section 207 of the Constitution, the National Commission is mandated in consultation with the executive in the province to appoint a man or a woman to oversee and manage the policing in that particular province. So in this case, it is me, for now, until the National Commission decide otherwise. It is me. So when I'm here and the investigation that is done by this task team is done in this province, which I must account to the 12 million people, the citizens of this province, I must account. There's so many political parties that have been affected by this violence over time. I must explain to them about our interventions in trying to stabilize and get rid of these political killings in this province. We're the only province where such a team had to be formed, because we're the ones that have been killing a lot of politicians, unlike any other province. So that's why there was a focus on this, which was a directive from the president. So we're having this team working, and we've been briefing the previous ministers about it. And the previous minister has always been in the media about it. So to now hear, because the letter was not written to me, I saw it from the media, to hear that there is a letter which is written which says disband this thing. So the question I asked was, National Commissioner, are you aware of this? And the National Commissioner says, I'm on leave. I don't know anything about the letter. I said, but there's letter in the public space. Maybe you need to find out from the minister whether is, or from your office, whoever is acting, whether is there such a letter that came to your office? Because if the letter comes and say disband something, I feel that the least that must happen is that I must give it an opportunity to brief our principal on it. Then when they make the decision to disband, at least they're informed by what's happening on the ground. But if you make a decision somewhere and the person responsible for it have not been engaged, it then makes one wonder why. That's why then I'm saying someone came and whispered to the minister to close this, because this is investigating cases that might link either his associates or her associates or colleagues that he works with or she works with, or the high-profile people that the person might know outside the organization, or maybe a criminal syndicate out there that needs to be protected for whatever reason. So that's my conclusion. But the question is, who is the person that will have whispered to the minister and influenced the minister to sign a letter to disband the unit? And the timing of it, sign the letter now while the National Commission is on leave, so that it can be implemented. When the National Commission comes back from leave, this unit is disbanded. Those are the things that were question marks. So when I was talking against that. I said, there shouldn't be someone from the head office who's now going to try and influence the minister to destroy investigations that are happening against crime, which means as the team is investigating, they are not only dealing with what they see before them. If suddenly you see a letter like this that says the very same team that is busy must be dissolved, disbanded, someone is fighting this team indirectly by using the authority of the executive to get rid of them, so that they don't do anything further. So it is that what I was fighting for, and I'm still fighting for it. So if that puts a target on my back, it's a tough thing, because the very same members that are investigating, they've got a target on their back for sure, because they are doing the investigations. So I cannot then sit back when my members are working and don't want to be part of that risk that they are involved with. I must be able to understand what risk they have and be able to divert that risk away from them so they can focus on their work. If that risk must come to me, tough luck, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And an open mind. When you watch this episode, listen to what I am saying with an open mind and a critical ear. So what do I think is happening here? About A decade ago, I started talking about what I call the deep state. What is the deep state? The deep state comes into existence when there is a convergence of political, business, criminal, and intelligence interests in pursuit of the common goal of looting the state to make mountains of money.
Wow.
The deep state comes into being when politicians, senior government officials, rogue elements in the state and private sector intelligence sectors, rogue elements in business, big business, small business, and so on, criminal syndicates work together in pursuit of the common goal of looting the state to make a lot of money. The thing, though, Hlubi, is that you almost never end up with a single deep state project. What you almost always end up with are several deep state projects.
Deep states.
Yes. So what then happens is that the different deep state projects come into competition and conflict with one another. And what happened in South Africa? Because of our political reality since 1994, of the single-party dominance of the ANC, conflict between the different deep state projects manifested as factional conflicts in the ruling party. But when I listen to what General Mkhwanazi is saying, this conflict happens in two directions. First of all, conflict at the level of the deep state between different deep state projects manifested as factional conflict in the ANC. In turn, the factional conflict in the ANC manifested as conflict between different deep state projects in the deep state. So it proceeds in those two directions. Another thing about the deep state is that it has both national and transnational tentacles, which means you see at times a convergence of interests between deep state projects located in the national domain and those that are located outside the national domain in other countries. Now, South Africa is home to several or even many criminal syndicates. The Israeli mafia is here. The Shanghai mafia is here. The Nigerian mafia is here. criminal syndicates from South America, different parts of Asia, and other parts of the world are here. And some of them have succeeded in infiltrating the state. Some of them find themselves being part of deep state projects in this country and outside this country. So the idea, and I will say the idea, I will not say the reality, the idea that some within our state are controlled by criminal syndicates from South Africa and criminal syndicates from outside South Africa is not necessarily far-fetched. That is something we do need to look at. But also, to the extent that intelligence is part of the deep state, whether it's state intelligence services or private sector intelligence network, intelligence of foreign countries has infiltrated our state, including our deep state. And therefore, there was a time when we got the reports that our own intelligence services may have been infiltrated by foreign intelligence services. You can take another look at this. Remember that when you look at political reality, and maybe the relationship between political reality and what I call the deep state, you are looking also at hidden hierarchies. And some of the hidden hierarchies are located in the state. That is the police, within the political class, and so on. The thing about hidden hierarchies is that for them to be effective, they must be represented in different levels of the state. We also have what we call the deep establishment. Now, the deep establishment is not necessarily the deep state, but may become a component of the deep state. The deep establishment consists of members of the political class, and they may come from one or more political parties. They come from the economic elites. So some members of the economic elites will be part of the deep establishment. Sections of the media will be part of the deep establishment. Sections of the intelligentsia, academics and so on, will be part of the deep establishment. Now, the deep establishment exists to give direction to the country. But for it to be represented, it must be represented in the state, in the deep state sometimes, and sometimes it must be part of the deep establishment, manifest in different guises or incarnations. So if you ask me, if we were to understand what may be happening, I would say may, because I don't want to assume that what was revealed yesterday is the absolute truth. It must be investigated. in my view. If we want to understand what may be happening, first of all, we must accept that there is no theoretical or analytical framework on its own that explains everything. So my invitation is that we must look at what is happening or may be happening using the analytical framework of state capture. Now, one of the reasons why here is because we in this country embraced a very narrow conception of the theory of state capture. We allowed a political agenda
Absolutely.
to tell us which dots to join. The Zondo Commission itself allowed the same political agenda to decide for commission which dots to join, which means because we were so uncritical in how we adopted this narrow conception or this narrow theory of state capture, we are ill-prepared when it comes to really understanding what is happening in the state, when it comes to understanding the vulnerabilities of the state, when it comes to understanding what is happening at the level of the deep state, the deep establishment, and so on. We must not make the same mistake when it comes to what General Mkhwanazi is saying. We must be more critical than we were when it came to this narrow conception and theory of state capture.
Thank you. I'll take one. I will answer to each one of you. I'm a police officer who understood the task at hand. When I joined the service, it was my resolve to make sure that I deal with criminals head on. Hence, I had chosen a career within the combating side of policing. That's what led me to work in the units that I worked for over time. Yes, I've been a provincial commissioner, and I'm still a provincial commissioner, coordinating different type of policing operations in this province. And I've been involved with a lot of operations in the country in the past. But I understand that at this present moment, the war that we are facing is so serious that it deals with high-level senior officers within the criminal justice system. Therefore, it is important for us to go into a combat mode. It is important for me to make sure that I take on the enemy directly. So when you see me and you see this management and you understand that we have hard-working men and women, not only in KZN, but across the board in the country, who doesn't like crime, who doesn't like these criminals. I, fortunately, am a citizen in this country. My families are spread across different provinces. So it is my duty and the fellow police officers to protect them. So I'm not going to surrender their freedom. I'm not going to surrender their safety to anyone. So I will die for this badge. I will die for them. So I will fight this fight until the end. Wherever the end is, we will fight. We're not going to stop. We've got family members, brothers and sisters, we've got children that are exposed to drugs. This drug cartel, which includes a group in Gauteng that's operating in Gauteng as their headquarters, are importing these drugs from abroad, South America in the main, through this port of Durban, amongst others, to Gauteng, and they process them in Gauteng, and from there they distribute this drug all over in the country as well as other countries. We've been involved with a lot of shooting incidents in KZN, especially at Ntlantla. As we're engaging with these youngsters, we're doing analysis, and we are realizing, yes, they might be ill-disciplined kids, but their behavior is encouraged by the substance that they take. It gives them courage to kill, it gives them courage to rape, it gives them courage to murder. And if we take away this substance, they will become good citizens. They will become good kids. So therefore, we need to get rid of drugs. Now, we understand when we fight with the drug cartels that have controlled police generals, have controlled prosecution and judiciary, it's not going to be a small game. So unfortunately, some of us have to sacrifice. We've reached a stage where we are sacrificing for the good of the South Africans, for the children of South Africa, to be free from drugs. So I do hope that the authorities that have been briefed about this will take necessary action in dealing with it. As a police officer, I cannot turn a blind eye when I see a crime being committed. That's why I mentioned that. We are already working with the prosecution, working on case dockets for those that took a decision to stop the investigation. So we have to investigate to establish, because this new administration came into office last year. This IMC that was established by the president has been in existence before the new government. Ever since the new government took over, to date, there's never been a briefing given by myself, nor my management. I believe nothing done by the provincial, the project leader, which is Gerald Kumalo, who is now arrested. I cannot talk much about my boss, but us, as people who are running on the ground, we have never given a presentation to the Minister of Police about the work, the successes that I presented of this political killing task team in this province. So for a decision to disband it, we are 100% sure after evidence collected that is informed by the work that they were doing in Gauteng, which the work they did in Gauteng was affecting the people that are closer to the people that are closer to our executive authority. So our investigation is going to be that wide. We're going to uncover anyone had a role to play. There are people that refer to themselves as whistleblowers. The strategy that is being used is to make sure that they taint the image of a person in a public space. They talk bad about you in the public space. For a member of parliament to come and talk about the procurement of facilities of crime intelligence, which is a covert thing, which is something that should not be in a public space, is not been questioned by anyone. The person who's accused understands that he cannot speak in public about it because it's a covert thing. If he speaks public about it, he's going to be facing a criminal offense himself. Now they're exploiting that gap, that we know this person can't speak, so let's speak and make him look bad. He can only speak behind closed doors in parliament, but he can't speak to the public. Push the man until he reaches the end. And he's going to expose the issues of national security of this country, simply because there are people with evil intentions who are pushing him to get to that stage, using the state apparatus to execute the mandate. So we have to investigate in order to be able to remove the cancer. That's where we're going to go. I hope I answered all your questions.
What the implications for you from this point?
Yeah, what I said when I started, that I've decided to take this fight head on. So the least that can ever happen to me is to someone to come and attack me, or somebody to issue an instruction that Mkhwanazi must be fired from the police, or suspended, or arrested for that matter. What I know, what I like about KwaZulu-Natal, especially in South Africa at large, that we've got very dedicated people out there, from the law enforcement as well as private sector, especially the security companies, that we are running the streets with them on daily basis, who understand that there's a rot in this organization, who understand these problems that we're talking about, and they're not going to sit back and allow this thing to continue. So I'm inviting all of them. I'm inviting the citizens to stand up and protect these men and women who are standing for the truth in this organization. They must protect them. Whether I'm there or not there, fight must go on. We must protect this country against crime. It's all what we can do. So whatever happens to me happens. I'll take it, whatever happens, happens. If it's prison, it will be prison. It's already on communication planned by Mkhwanazi, the DNC, and the Chief of Staff that they must deal with my matters. Whatever matters comes, they will come. But what we must not surrender is this country and our children to be controlled by drug syndicates. And that's what is currently happening.
Beautiful South Africans, beautiful patriots, people who love South Africa and want this drug syndicate being dealt with. I hope you now understand the depth that we are indeed being faced with in terms of crime in this country. Many might say that none other than General Mkhwanazi has acted wrongly within the laws. But what he has done has now begun to actually get us to understand the depth of the cancer within the SAPS, within government. And now we will begin to question and now begin to actually probe into all these allegations. We have to remember that this country cannot be sold to the highest bidder. South Africa is for us all, but now we find ourselves being faced with some of the harshest of criminals. And we are now glad to have a general who is prepared to take this syndicate head on. South Africa cannot be surrendered to criminals, and that is what is most important for all of us South Africans, to make sure that we fight this drug cartel, this drug syndicate, as citizens working together with the police and prosecutions of this country. We cannot let our country go to the pits. So I am glad that we are going to now see that there are some patriots who are fighting this with all that they have, with all the machinery, the weapons that they have. And we cannot allow ourselves to fall into a Colombia controlled by the deep state. I always say that the ANC are a cancer. In fact, they are the direct cancer that we need to get rid of in South Africa. But today, as we wait on the 13th of July, as we wait for the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, to actually address the nation, we now sit in questions wondering, what will this guy say? Because these are some of his closest associates, mentioning specifically the minister, Mchunu. So South Africans, embrace yourself for a movie that is about to happen in this country. And we will continue to cover the story, not too much, but we'll focus on the education part of all of this. The education part of all of this, which is to understand where this all started, what is actually going on, and what we really need to know in terms of learning and understanding all of this, because South Africa will not be continued to be led by the African National Congress. And us in the future need to now actually know how do we deal with some of these cancers that are already infiltrating people who are in power. South Africa cannot be handed over to drug cartels, but must be led by law-abiding citizens who have the best interests of the citizens of this country in their hearts. South Africa is ours and not that of drug syndicates. I think.
Nothing. Sure, I would do ownership.